welcome to episode 31 of the Tailoring Talk Show with me, your host, Roberto Rivilla. I'm a bespoke tailor, menswear designer, and owner of Roberto Rivilla London Suit and Shirt Makers. This is the podcast where you drop in for the threads, but often leave with something quite unexpected. If you haven't already, please support the show by subscribing, and if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please help me out by leaving a rating and a review. On today's episode, I'm joined by someone who has had a rich, varied roller coaster of a journey in his life so far. From performing on stage and film since the tender age of 6, to managing director of Total Buy-In and the author of the best-selling book, The Power to Speak Naked, he's dabbled in just about every industry possible in between. He's passionate about helping others confidently take the stage and impact an audience with their stories. And I've got him on the show to do the same, hopefully, to you today. I'm so excited to meet and get to know this man. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Tyler Foley to the Tailoring Talk Show. Tyler, how are you?
Oh, Roberto, I'm doing good. I got to tell you, Bobby, I've been looking forward to this. I am a man who loves a good tailored suit, and I know for a fact that the two people you need to suck up to the most in life are your barber and your tailor. So this is my opportunity to suck up to you, my friend.
So I really hope that any of my clients that are listening to this episode pay real close attention to what you just said, because none of them suck up to me. At all.
They need to learn because A, you make that suit either the most comfortable thing you can wear or the most uncomfortable thing you can wear. And you make those lines make me look good or make me look cheap. And I like when you make me look good. So, Roberto, how am I doing for sucking up so far?
You're doing really good. Actually, do you know what? I take back what I just said, because my Canadian clients and actually my American clients, they're really, really good at making me feel special and showing some gratitude. It's the Brits, basically, that tend to kind of keep it quiet. And I'm not afraid to say that.
We'll say they're being reserved, maybe. Inside, they're glowing at what you do for them. And when you ask how they like the suit, it's lovely. Just lovely.
Yeah. Well, reserved is a really nice way of putting it. I think they just need to learn how to express themselves a little bit more, but hopefully you're going to help with that today as well.
That's the plan.
So we find you in New York, right?
No, you find me in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, although New York is definitely a city I frequent as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, I don't know where I got New York from.
Probably from the Broadway musicals I've done.
Yeah, probably, exactly. That's probably what I had in my head. But it's not just Broadway musicals. I mean, you've done so much in film and TV, and also from a really young age. So, at the age of 6, you kind of start off. Really, really sad story to start with. You lost your dad tragically, which I was so sorry to hear. But tell me about how you got started so young in the industry.
Well, as you had mentioned, my father passed away when I was 6 years old. And when you're 6, it's really hard to process the finality of death, what death means. Although it's, somebody can say daddy's not coming home again. You're like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. But the reality of that is really hard to comprehend for the 6-year-old mind. And so I didn't really openly or outwardly grieve my father's passing for many, many years. And I think subsequently, my mom and my immediate family were looking for an outlet for me, a place where I could express and experience my emotions in a safe environment and really explore who I was. And I had taken a shining to stage. I had done a couple of plays at school, like the Christmas pageant and Easter pageant and stuff like that. And really, really enjoyed it. Like, it's one of those things where some kids, you stick them on the stage and they just sit there and are frozen. And there are others who just run around and have an absolute riot dressing up and playing with the adults. And that was me. I loved it. And so I was really encouraged to explore that. And for the next, 36 years, that's all I've done. I started early, got the chance to be on stage, got the chance to work professionally on stage, and then move that into film and television in my later teens. Attend a fine arts high school where I specialized in musical theater and minored in film and television. And it's been part of my life. In fact, I retired from the business at 25, but it's kind of like the mob, you draws you right back in. And even as recently as this week, I've booked a role on a really fun movie project that I'm not allowed to talk about until they make their press release announcement. But I got a notice from my agent, and I signed the contract for a really cool project yesterday. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, congratulations! So is that line? I think it's The Wire, isn't it? Where they say, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Yeah, I think, well, The Wire said it, but they're actually quoting it from The Godfather. So
okay.
Everybody uses that line because it's a good line.
Yeah. But it's really weird that I got it from The Wire, because I've seen The Godfather multiple times, but I've never actually seen The Wire.
Well, there you go.
But I'm one of those people, like, if we hung out more, you would realize that my head is just stuffed full of useless information that I seem to just pick up and absorb.
Yes.
But it's usually pop culture type reference stuff.
I used
instead
to
of actually
be that
stuff
way.
that.
So that my wife says that I'm full of random useless facts, which is true. My problem is most of my life is a musical because I grew up in musical theater. So to me, everything is a song. Like every time you say a thing, you say a sentence, and in my head, I'm humming some song that has been sparked or triggered in the great recesses of my brain, and synapses fire, and I'm like da 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 the whole time in my head. It's awful, but my wife says it's valuable memory real estate that takes up too much, space for her. So she doesn't do the trivia, but I love it. And again, does it serve any purpose? No, not at all. But I can recall facts and figures like that for some strange reason.
Right. Sometimes it comes in handy. But congratulations. That's really great news. I had some on my side, and, at the Oscars next month, I'll have 2 outfits there in the presence of all those amazing people.
Oh, that'll be awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, I know. It just one, I can't really talk about it. Like, you can't talk about your thing. But I can say that one of the nominees is involved with Coda, which was an Apple TV movie. And I think the plot is it's about a family, and they're all deaf, but there's the one girl, the main character, and she's not. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like the first movie that has had actual deaf actors, and, they're all signing and all that sort of thing. I should really go and see it now. And the other one, he's involved with Kenneth Branagh's biopic, Belfast.
Yeah.
So that was really, I fitted him this morning, and he's like so excited. And I am as well. I just, in between now, if anyone's listening and you've been nominated for an Oscar and you're anywhere near London, just hit me up, because I'd like to get a few more of my outfits out there.
Yeah.
So that's been really, really cool. Congratulations on that. Is that going to be quite involved as a shoot? Can you say that much?
Yeah.
Because you have your day job. I mean, you're running your business as well, right?
Well, the nice thing is my day job is self-sufficient at this point. So I've been very lucky to surround myself with incredibly smart people, much smarter than I am. And my team just kind of handles the day to day, and I'm just the captain of the ship. So, I come out of my quarters, I ask, how's everything doing? They go, great, Captain, go back to bed. I just say, make sure that we end up here at the end of the journey. And I give a couple of coordinates and directions, and everybody else kind of scuttles around and makes stuff happen. And if they know better than me, they say, you actually don't want to go to that port. Captain, we want to go here. And I go, okay, tell me why. And they say, because that's where we're supposed to be going. And I go, all right, do that then. Make it so. and I walk back. So luckily for me, I have a lot of time freedom to do the things that I like. So I get to do a whole bunch of keynote presentations. Most of May will be spent in the States doing a speaking tour down there. So I'll be speaking in Phoenix and Dallas, and then doing my own event in Las Vegas. I'll be doing a thing. I'm going down at the very end of February to officiate a wedding in Cancun, because why not? It'll be fun. And then I have this project that will take up most of March, I believe. They start their film dates. The day that I fly down to Mexico, actually, I believe, is the day that filming starts, but I'm not needed for the first week. So I get back from Mexico, and then we jump right into filming the project. So that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow. So just skipping back slightly, captain of your ship is my aim. Mm-hmm. I'm still very much hands on deck, doing every single job in the ship.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm on something of a journey at the moment. It's basically, what the last 2 years has just disrupted and turned everything upside down. So I'm just kind of untangling that mess right now and trying to get back on course. There's too many ship analogies there. So we're gonna time hop around a little bit. But have you missed traveling?
I have.
With the pandemic?
Yes.
Yeah.
It not only have I missed it because prior to not only vocationally did I travel a lot, but vacationally I traveled a lot. And my wife and I have a shared love of travel. Whether that's, it doesn't matter what type of travel either. Like, we'll hop on a plane, a train, or hop in the truck and go for a drive. I'm blessed because I am 30 minutes outside of the Rocky Mountains where I live.
Yeah.
So if I go directly east, I'm in the Great Plains of North America. If I go directly west, I am in the Rocky Mountains, and I am right on that dividing line. Directly south of us is the U.S. and directly north of us is the Arctic. So I've got a lot of different diverse areas that I can explore within a 4-hour radius in a vehicle. And then we're, one of the largest international airports in Canada, so I can get anywhere by plane if I want to. And we have some of the most beautiful scenic train rides that you can take. Like, they're epic. It's not like Europe where you hop on the train and it goes a half an hour and you're at your destination. We're 3 days before you get anywhere. And it can be really a beautiful way to see the country. We've got some glass top train carriages that will do scenic tours through the Rocky Mountains, and so you can go from Calgary to Banff, and from then Banff into Vancouver and see the Rocky Mountains that way. So it's we've done it all. I love to travel, but yeah, it not only has it really affected my mental health, not being able to get out just for a vacation and fly somewhere that we want to do, but it's been a real hindrance when it comes to work, because unlike most speakers, I can speak virtually. Like, that's not a problem. I can present virtually. I can come and give a keynote this way without any issue. But my primary source of revenue comes from training other people how to public speak.
Yeah.
And no matter how hard you work at doing that in a virtual environment, at some point I need to see you on stage interacting with people. and you need to be in front of people. So we can practice all we want in front of a camera. You're going to get comfortable in front of a camera, but you don't find that discomfort again until I get you in front of people. So not being able to hold a live event for me has been really, really frustrating. And I am so looking forward to May when I get to finally have a live audience and have people and be able to have impact that way again.
Yeah, wow. I wanted to ask you how you crossed over from the entertainment industry into, I mean, it's a natural progression for you, and you retire from acting, stunt work, and so on, and then you go into teaching people how to be confident on stage, public speak, and so on, because you're obviously an absolute natural, and I would give anything to be able to be better at it. Funny enough, I was a drama and theatre arts student. So kind of same as you, when I was younger, I mean, I've always been quite introverted, and drama acting for me was a way to just be someone else.
Yeah.
And that was the way that I was able to get out of my shell and kind of express myself in a way. The difference, though, is that when you're growing up in kind of Little England in the 80s, your school plays, you're only ever, like the nativity play, I was only ever a shepherd or a king. Sometimes like a sheep if I was lucky, but you never got to be sort of main role unless it was something like, I remember the only time I was ever main role was in Rama and Sita, you know, the Ramayana, the Hindu religion thing.
Yeah.
So I got to play the main role in that. Can you see why?
Oh yeah, there's no bias in that whatsoever.
So that was that. But then I studied drama and theatre arts, and I really, really wanted to become an actor. I got a place at Rose Bruford, which is one of the top acting kind of university schools up here. And unfortunately, a combination of my parents not being able to afford to help to send me, and the fact that I don't think they were very happy with the career progression or the career path that I was taking. Because, you know, when you're Asian heritage, they want you to become an accountant, a doctor, you know, all the stereotypes, basically. So I had to take a sales job to try and earn the money for a couple summers to then go, so that they held my place for me. And then I got into sales, and I never really left. I studied art and I studied design as well. And I'd always had a passion for clothes and people, and that's how I then eventually ended up doing what I do now. And I've been doing it for 20 years. It will be 20 years this September. It's kind of crazy. But I was talking to the Oscar nominee that I was measuring up this morning, and basically just kind of, trying to get an angle in there for any future projects. If there are any calls for extra, I don't care what it is. I'll extra work. I'll jump through windows. I don't care what I have to do, but just get me on a damn film set, please.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm the same way. I had grown when I did retire initially. I had grown really complacent with the industry because I'd been doing it for 20 years, and
and you've done a lot in that 20 years. It's not like you were just kind of sitting around doing odd kind of extra work or whatever. I mean, you've done a huge number of TV shows. You've done film.
Yeah.
You've been on stage as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a rich career, right?
It was definitely keeping me busy. What happened was it stopped being fun. Like when I was doing it initially, it was fun. Like, how cool is this? I get to be on set. I get to meet some really cool people. I got to work with Dame Helen Mirren. And when she won her Golden Globe, the scene that they played at the Golden Globes, one of her, I think she's multiple Golden Globe winner now, but when she won for Best Supporting Actress in Door to Door, the scene that they played was the scene between me, her, and Bill, William H. Macy.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, that was a huge thrill for me, too. And she's lovely. Oh, man, is she a pride and joy of your guys' side of the pond, because I just absolutely love her. She is an incredibly giving and gracious performer, and I had a riot working with her. But like I said, there was a point where it had become a job. I remember getting a callback for a, a big production, but a small role within it. And I remember I was on my way out of town. And I was on my way to my basically my summer home. And I was like, I don't want to turn around. I don't want to go for this callback. And I remember as soon as I thought about that, the number of people who would die to be in that position, to just get the chance, just to have a callback, and just to audition. Never mind the callback. Callback is like, what? You got a callback? But to have an audition. And I was like, oh, do I have to turn around? It's 90 minutes back to the studio. I just don't want to do that. And like the complete lack of respect that attitude had for not only the industry, but my own career. I realized at that point that I needed to take a break because it wasn't vibing. And then so I went back to school and I got an engineering discipline and started my own business. And that is not the current business that I'm in. That business was a geomatics mapping firm. Anybody who's
this is the oil gas thing, right?
It's in conjunction with oil and gas. Our primary clients were oil and gas and the government, and I was taking aerial photography. So anybody who's turned on satellite view on Google Maps, I was stitching together those pictures so that you could zoom in and see your house and wave to space. But that business I did not turn out the way that I had envisioned in the long term, and collapsed within about 3 years of me starting it. But I had training from starting that up. When the government is your primary client, you have to have safety systems in place. Yeah. And so there's a lot of training that goes into making sure that those safety systems are in place. And a friend of mine said, listen, you've taken all this training. You are very close to having your National Construction Safety Officer designation. If you take these extra courses, you can get said designation. And then I need a safety manager. Would you be interested in coming and working for me? And he's a considerably smarter businessman than I am. And he was working in oil and gas, making the big oil and gas money. And I was familiar with, with the industry. I just hadn't really worked in it a lot. And I said, sure. So I upgraded my skill set, started to work for him, and then rapidly realized that where my jam was training people in safety. And that morphed into training people into giving better safety presentations, like the toolbox meetings and those morning safety talks, because they're boring. They're like an invitation to a lobotomy. And I couldn't sit through them. And so I started training these executives on how to give better meetings. They're like, you think you can do better? I'm like, I know I can do better. Let me show you. And then they're like, wow, you did do better. Can you show me? I'm like, yes, let me teach you. And next thing I knew, I had morphed from what was, safety management, safety consulting, auditing of safety systems, and training to this specific type of training specifically around public speaking. And then I realized it didn't need to just be about safety, that a lot of people, tailors included, want to be able to speak better and more comfortably in front of small and large crowds. And so for the last 5 years, that's been my main dedicated focus, is this particular niche training on public speaking and getting people more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I get invited to talk to groups a lot, and I just avoid it. I mean, partly because I don't really have the time, but also it's because I don't know how, I'm better one-on-one with people than I am with lots and lots of people, which is probably why when it comes to networking events, those are the kind of things that I've avoided as well, because everybody invites me to them expecting me to be the one that peacocks around everybody, introducing myself and bringing everyone together, and but I'm the guy that would go into a large room full of people and I just go order a drink at the bar and I just stay there.
Because you're an introvert, just like I am, and I am to understand you have an interesting story about a networking event you attended recently.
Oh yeah, so 2 episodes ago I had Atif Ghaffar on, and if you ever get to listen to any of my podcast episodes with him on, he does a really great Al Pacino impression, but it's mainly centered around Tony Montana, that character.
Right.
Really, really good. So now I've got this thing. When I have him on the podcast, we just do a cold open with him as another Al Pacino character. Anyway, that's not a point. So he's doing a lot of networking because he's building a home cinema business. So he'll go into people's houses, high-end audio. You know, if you've got a spare room, he'll turn it into, you know, an audio visual den. It's kind of quite a cool thing, actually. So he's doing a lot of networking events and that sort of thing. And he's very personable. He's the kind of person that will literally talk to anybody. But for some weird reason, he'd been invited to this networking event at an art gallery in Bond Street in central London, which is, I don't know if you've been to London before, but that's our road that's got all the really expensive stores on it, right? So he invited me along. I was like, what the hell do you want me down for? And he's like, because he thinks I'm really cool. He'll probably be listening to this and be laughing his head off. Artif, if you're listening to this, I hope you're not driving. Just pull over, dude. Okay. So yeah, he said, well, you're really cool, and there's going to be lots of people there, and they're all really cool as well, and you'll just get talking to them, and I'll just be your wingman, and I'll just, you know, you'll help me get in with people. And I was just like, dude, out of all the people you could have picked in your network, you picked the wrong guy. Like, seriously, you picked the wrong guy. So anyway, I went, and it was great. I mean, there were a lot of people out, and being that, you know, for us just before Christmas, we weren't sure what was happening with restrictions over here, if they were going to lock us down all over again and it was going to get worse before it got better, or so it was just nice to be out and just see people and have a bit of normality. But also the art that was on display at this place was absolutely amazing. And being a former art student as well, I was like, oh, wow, this is really cool. I can just go and look at paintings and just ignore everybody. So that's exactly what I did. So I'm kind of holding, you know, they're giving out drinks and canapes and stuff. So I'm cradling a glass of champagne and I'm just really admiring these amazing works of art. And people were just coming, sidling up to me. The most notable one was this lady who looked absolutely stunning. So I know that she'd sort of seen me from across the way. So she kind of sidled up to me subtly. And then we're both just kind of standing there, shoulder to shoulder, just looking at this painting. And then she sort of turned around to me and said, you like this painting? And then I just locked up. I didn't know what the hell to say. And I turn around, and I don't know if you've ever seen a British situation comedy called The IT Crowd.
Yes.
But I basically, yeah, okay, so Moss in The IT Crowd, I turned into Moss. I just turned around and I said, yes, I like this painting. And she's like, what is it about it that you like or whatever? And I was like, I just like this painting. And then I just turned around to Artif and like sort of turned my back to her. And I said, can we go and look at another painting now, please? We just walked up. So my question to you is, how could I have handled that situation better?
Well, so, and I definitely appreciate the how awkward it can be at networking events, especially as an introvert. As I said, I'm an introvert too, and so that is my comfort, right? Like for me, I want to be over to the corner and doing whatever. Now, it kind of depends on the networking event if you can get away with a couple of these things. So the first one is, at any point, did they have everybody kind of introduce themselves, or was it just a mix and mingle? Was it more of a mix and mingle? Or?
It was a mix and mingle. And not only that, Tyler, the other thing I should tell you is that people were coming up and talking to me. I think the thing that does attract people to me in a big event is that I'm usually the best dressed guy in the room.
Yeah.
And I don't really make that much effort. So in actual fact, in Britain, it's not that hard. I have no idea why we have the reputation that British guys are like the best dressed guys in the world. Trust me, they really are not. I mean, come on. This is a nation. We send we send our guys out to foreign countries, and they are the ones that are instantly recognizable because they do things like wear white socks and sandals.
Yeah.
Ugh, oh my God, I just want to throw up just having said that. It's disgusting. And the Europeans have a joke. It's like you can always tell when an Englishman walks into a restaurant, and it's like, how can you tell? And they just say from the way he's dressed.
Yeah.
And they don't mean it in a good way.
No.
So anyway, but the problem was, so people were actually coming up to me, but I could not hear a word they were saying. It was so loud.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's because that's just the way it was, or if it's that I'm getting old because I'm now in my 40s and my hearing's starting to go or something. But people were just literally in my face, like explaining who they were and where they were from and all of this stuff and asking me questions. And they probably thought I was like completely soft in the head or something, because I'm sure what I was actually saying to them, it was what I thought in my mind. I could lip read from what they were saying, but it obviously wasn't what. So conversations were dying very, very quickly. So anyway, I'm sorry. No, Sensei, go.
So you bring up a very good point. There's a couple of things you need to know when you're going networking. First of all, why are you going? In your scenario, it's funny because you're going because a friend invited you and you're like, I don't want to go. So already there was no reason for you to be there. so that was, downfall number one. Number two, although it was a environment where networking could occur, the environment was not specific to networking. And so in that scenario, you're already hampered. And then thirdly, as you said, the noise would have been an inhibitor. One of the things that I would have likely done in that scenario, especially if you're going to be a focal point. You wouldn't tell today because today is definitely a very casual day for Tyler, but I too am usually...
Can I just interject and say that although you've just been very self-deprecating, your outfit is so cool. For anyone that can't see it, I should probably screenshot it actually. I'm going to do that and then put it up on the Instagram, because I just started the Tailoring Talk podcast Instagram, so we need more content on there. Yeah. But you actually look so cool. Like, you're perfectly coordinated. You've got an awesome t-shirt. It has Darth Vader on it. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a huge Star Wars geek. I was just, as soon as you came on screen on video, I was like, he's my tribe.
Yep.
But you're rocking it. You look so good.
Well, I appreciate it and thank you. But, and I do try to stay coordinated, like I know what my background is. I want to make sure that everything works the way that it is. If I'm going to do the color tones like this, it needs to work. But, when I go out, I'm usually one of the better dressed, if not the best dressed person in the room. Even when I'm volunteering at some of the really big speaker events that I'm not speaking at, that I'm just around there to be of service so that eventually maybe I can make it on the stage. I'm the guy running around in an all black 3-piece suit. And they're like, but why? I'm like, well, you said to dress black. They're like, yeah, but everybody else is in, t-shirts and slacks. And I'm like, not me. I can't. I recognize that this monochromatic look may not be the best. Nothing pops on this suit right now because I'm black on black on black on black. But you said black, and I need to blend, so now I have. And I am that guy. I'm going to stand out. And very similar to you, where when you are well dressed and slightly aloof, all of a sudden, everybody wants to know why. So that was a thing you were doing right. The key there is, if the noise is really truly hampering your ability to hear and understand and have a conversation, that should be usually the first thing. You'd be like, I'm sorry, the noise here is deafening. And I want to make sure that I'm hearing everything that you say, because I would love to have this conversation. Can we, go over here or over here where I can actually talk with you? And then that, first of all, they're going to be like, what? Bobby wants to hear what I have to say. Why, Roberto, please take me to wherever, right? Like that in itself is showing interest. What most people want is somebody to just pay attention to them. And if you say, I want to focus, I want to be able to hear you, but I can't in this scenario, can we go somewhere that's acoustically better? Even if it's step outside, you're going to be more comfortable as an introvert because now you can control that environment. You can get one-on-one or you can get to the peripheral. You can truly focus on what they have to say. And then secret tip 2, as an introvert, you get to control the conversation by asking them questions, and it's what I would have done. If somebody were to have asked me what it is that I like about this painting, I'd say something to the effect of, I don't know, I'm drawn to it. I couldn't even begin to articulate why. What about you? Because you're watching this too, right? Like I would instantly flip it. What about you? What is it about this because then they get to start providing their opinion, and now you get to start picking. You're like, Darth Vader, you say? I like Darth Vader. Yes, you're right. I see in the lines of this stroke, I can definitely see where you would see his mask. I can see the turmoil that is the struggle between young Anakin and who then becomes Darth Vader. And over here, I can see his redemption. You're right. Genius. And right, however they want to frame it. So finding those commonalities in those stories by guiding and leading those questions are probably the way that I would, particularly in an environment like that is really more social mingling as opposed to networking.
Yeah.
Because those are the absolute worst. I'm the same as you. I'm like, canapé? Yes. Champagne? I do believe I shall. And then I'm going to be observing. That's kind of my gig. And if you are going to a networking event, if it's a proper networking event, again, make sure that you know why you're there. A lot of people are trying to pass off as many business cards as they possibly could. And that is the wrong way to network. I even for me, right? 77% of the world expresses anxiety around public speaking. So theoretically, 3/4 of that room are ideal clients of mine. But it's a falsehood. It's a falsehood because I need the people who recognize that they're afraid of public speaking, further have to public speak regularly, and then beyond that have a desire to get better. Only 4% of people in the world right now, based on a couple of studies that I've read, want to get better at public speaking, that recognize not only that they need to do it to progress within their career or their vocation or whatever they're doing, but then will actually seek professional help to do that. So I know that in a room of 50 people, only 2 are potential clients. Potential. Because they still have to like me as a coach. Because if you Googled speaker coach right now, I don't know that I would make it in the top 10,000 searches. You know what I mean? There's a ton of people who are really good at public speaking who want you to be better at public speaking and have professed a desire to teach you to do it. I am one of those people, but I am, again, one of many. So now not only do I have to find you, but I have to have a rapport. And it's building the rapport that's the most important thing. So what I do when I go to networking events and people do that whole what do you do thing, I'm like, well, I specialize in making people more comfortable in scenarios like this. And they go, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, do you like coming to networking events? And most people are like, no. I'm like, tell me more why. And I let them tell me where their discomfort is and why they may or may not need it. Why are you here? Like, what if you don't like coming to a networking event? Why are you at a networking event? Because here's the secret. Nobody really likes going to networking events, and yet everybody ends up going to these things. And so I get to explore that, and I let them talk to me, and I let them qualify themselves to me. And I go, well, that's interesting. I have this system that does this. If you're interested in it, let's have a chat offline later. Like, let's not do it here. Let's do it at my place. Same for you. You know, if people are like, well, what do you do? And you're like, well, I'm a fashion designer. You know, and I'm a tailor, and I make incredible clothes for people. In fact, you're going to see at least 2 of my outfits at the Oscars. Oh, really? Tell me more. If you're interested, let's go to why would you be interested in a suit? Why would you be interested in a dress? Like why do you need this? You know, and then let them again qualify. And that's usually the secret. It's a good friend of mine and mentor, Les Brown, says it best. You know, it's and actually I think he stole it from the late great Bernie Dorman. Less about me, more about thee.
Mm-hmm.
The less you can talk about yourself, the better off you are in those scenarios, as counterintuitive as that seems, because then you're having that conversation with people and they can provide the information to you, and they may not be somebody that you want to work with, you know?
Yeah.
And it's... Well, I was going to say, I look good in a suit, Roberto, but I don't know that I can afford to fly over to London and have you tailor it. I got my guys in Hong Kong right now who do it cheap.
There you go. See, not taking business cards with me is one way that kind of helps me to then kind of get on the other foot with people who are engaging with me, because I always find it's at these types of, actually wherever I am, weddings especially. Think of so many weddings that we've been to in the past, my wife and I, where you kind of start meeting people you've never met before, and it's the typical questions, how are you connected? Is it the bride's side or the groom's side, and so on? When did you meet them? And so what do you do? And people ask me what I do, and then the minute I say I'm a tailor, it all clicks into place for them. And people will ask me for a business card, and I never ever carry any with me. I mean, firstly, and it's a form of control, really, because as soon as you give a business card, it's like, you're waiting for them to call you at some point in future. I never want to be in that situation. I want to be the one who is deciding to call them instead.
Yeah.
So I always say to them, let's find out a bit more about you. Or sometimes I won't say that because it's not appropriate to say that, but I'll swing the conversation round so that I can find out more about them. And then by the end of it, if I'm thinking to myself, this is someone who potentially needs my help, I'll then grab their details and promise that I'll be in touch with them the following week or whatever. So,
by the way, that is a ninja level move. Like, that's networking at wizard level, Jedi level. That's really the key, is get their information. And what I like about that is giving them a timeline. So you want to say, I will follow up with you on X and Y, Z time or day. The great thing is, especially if you can put it in your calendar, because then they see that you're invested, right? I'm going to put it in my calendar right now, and I'm going to follow up on you at this time. Does that work for you? Great. And then you establish that this is the thing. And then when you do actually follow up at that time, that shows the kind of integrity that you have as a person, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. And now all of a sudden you instantaneously have raised your credentials in their mind. And that's the best way to do it. And again, why when I go to a networking event, I don't want to get 50 business cards. I want to, at best, find one or two people that I connect with that maybe could use my help and establish a relationship. And even if the relationship ends up stalling out where I'm not their ideal fit for them, at least I have the integrity to say, I don't think this is an ideal fit, but I do know some of these other people that do it. And that's the key to networking, is understanding that it's not about finding clients. It's about finding business allies, right? Yeah, somebody may not need you as a tailor, but they probably know other people who are, right? Like the wedding coordinator. Mm-hmm. Wedding coordinator doesn't, you guys are in mutual spheres, but the wedding coordinator probably doesn't need you tailoring for him or her, right? But all their clients do. And so if you're referring business to them, you have people coming and getting fitted for suits, and you're like, oh yeah, do you have what are you getting married? And they're like, oh, we don't even know yet. We're doing, oh, well, here, I know this coordinator. Right? Or I know these venues, or there's so many different ways where if you can be that facilitator of introductions, that's where you have the true power of networking. And I think people forget that network is a network, like it's an interwoven web. You want to be at the center of it, plucking the strings.
Yeah. It's not about me.
No, less about me, more about thee, and then you'll be networking like a rock star.
Yeah, exactly. It's really funny, actually. Maybe I'm better at it than I thought, because the other thing I do is I like finding out about people, because my network is pretty big. And, they'll be telling me their stories, and then, I'll be asking them, and how are you finding that? And how have you found this? And it's very easy to get people talking, because everybody wants to, because the last 2 years has just been a total,
Yeah.
But then I'm immediately kind of thinking, oh, actually, do you know what? I know a few good people in that area that you're trying, or that space you're trying to get into, that I could actually introduce you to. And it's really funny to see the reaction of people when you say things like that to them, because they're kind of then thinking, what's in it for you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and what do I need to give you in return for this help? And it's like, genuinely, you've just mentioned something that you're trying to achieve or you're struggling with or whatever, or somewhere you're trying to get into, and I have the key to that door. I'm just happy to try and help.
Yeah.
That's all. And at some point in the future, and I actually have had to explain this to them in the end. And I said, at some point in the future, you're going to come across someone who could probably use someone like me, and you'll remember that I helped you and you'll make that introduction. But I'm not actually doing it in this moment with a view to trying to get something back from you.
Yeah.
You know, it's, if I never hear from you again, it's fine. I'm just happy that I helped you. That's why I got into my business in the first place, because I love people and I just like to help people.
Well, and the thing is not only does the person that you're doing that introduction to remember, but the person you introduce them to remembers, right? Yeah. Especially if it becomes a very fruitful relationship. And as you said, the best way to do it is to do it without an agenda, because it's amazing how quickly the universe recognizes and rewards that. You know, I don't care if I get anything out of this relationship. That what I want to do is facilitate the introduction, and if it works for you, great. You know, my joy comes from seeing you succeed. And if you focus that way, and I applaud you for recognizing this, because it is the right way to network, then people start to remember, and eventually you gain that reputation naturally. And it's a little bit of a longer road. You know, it takes a bit to build up that equity, but it's a way stronger investment. Like it is way less fragile and prone to collapse, right? Like people will recognize, well, I Roberto didn't ask anything. He just, and now look at where I'm at. And you want that's always a great reward when people can go back and point to you as being the catalyst for change, and they go, oh man, if it weren't for that, I don't know where I'd be. And I'm so grateful for it. That's the true way to network. So it sounds to me, in my quick estimation, that you're doing it right, my friend.
I think I know the basic. I mean, look, I think reading helps, and God knows I have a huge library, and sales books and goal setting, and how to talk to people and all that kind of thing. So it's all of the fundamentals are there in my head. I know all of this stuff, and I obviously do a lot of it because I've just related that to you as well. I'm going to an event next week, and that's a smaller deal. And I actually took the time, having had that experience with Artif before Christmas, I was like, right, how many people are going to be there? What's the setting? Is it going to be loud? Is there going to be someone there that's kind of introducing people to other people? Am I able to get visibility on who else is going so I can look them up and see what they do? So that then, I already know ahead of time, like the people that I'm actually interested to go and seek out and find out more about and so on. And so, I obviously do. I obviously know all the basics there. Yeah. So there we go.
Well, and the other thing is too, when you're doing a networking event, if you actually have that chance, when people are like, tell us a little bit about yourself, right? Everybody has like the 30 seconds. If it's a smaller one, it's like 20 people, right? And they're like, tell us about yourself. The worst thing you can do is introduce yourself. Right? Hi, my name is Roberto and I do this, right? Like, it takes up 10 of your 30 seconds. What I like to do with that, and I don't know if you do this yourself, it sounds like you may a little bit, but just for the benefit of your listeners, pre-qualify, right? Who here doesn't know what to wear when they when they get ready for work, who wishes that they could pop a little bit more, stand out from the crowd, who has never had tailored clothing and would love to know what that feels like or what it looks like. Well, this is what I do. I've got a couple of outfits that are going to be at the Oscars this month. And if you'd like to know more, come talk to me. I'll be over in the corner because that's where I'm comfortable. I'll be over in the corner. Come find me over here. I want to be out of the way so that we can have a really good conversation about it. And then the people who are like, ooh, that's me. I want to know more. Are going to come over to you naturally. And that's what I do all the time, because I don't want to be in the middle and I don't want to have to be seeking people. I want people to seek me. It makes it a little bit easier.
Exactly.
And it's that first call to action, right? You're telling people, this is what I do. This, if you want to know more, you come talk to me. And it's no different than if I'm on stage at an event and I'm selling from stage. I'm not going to push the come buy my package. I'm like, these are the things that I do. These are the people that I work with. If you identify with that, come talk to me at the back of the stage. You know where it is because you see my big banner right there and all my books are lined up right there. Come find me and we'll chit chat. And that's usually how I do it. Because I want to.
And that's the first prospect qualification for you or for me, because then, like you're presenting to a big crowd. I'm guessing a percentage of them will disperse. Then you'll get a percentage of them that will kind of just hover to see what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And then you'll get that small group of the eager, probably the ones that had their hands up while you were presenting as well, will be straight over to you. And so straight away, you've kind of been able to kind of work out, right, okay, these are potential kind of prospects because they're actually interested enough to come over to me. And then you can kind of work the rest out from there.
Yeah. No, and it's exactly how it is. And that's why you can do that at networking, right? Because at networking, you're selling yourself. So sell yourself, but don't do it by pushing. Like it's ineffective for one to have to go to each individual person. Here's who I am. Here's my business card. Here's who I am. Here's my business card. And it feels gross to you and it feels gross to them. They're like,
yeah, totally. You feel like a hyena or a vulture or something,
Yeah, no, come to me. Like, just, if you're interested in this, come talk to me. And as you said, you're going to have the looky-loos who are like, everybody's going to talk to Roberto. Maybe I should go talk to Roberto. And then they come and talk to you. And then because you're not pushing an agenda and you're asking them questions, whether or not you need to, book them into your calendar, or if you just need to have a pleasant conversation. And it makes it a lot nicer because then you get to, as you said, find out about people, which is the cool thing. And you don't have to talk a whole bunch about yourself because you're asking them questions and then letting them talk. And that's the right way to network, in my opinion. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But it's the thing that works for me.
I can definitely, as you were talking there, I was basically internalizing it, and then I was drifting off into an actual situation, because I tend to avoid those where it's like, whoever's hosting an event says you've got 30 people here and everyone's going to get a turn to stand up and do their elevator pitch.
Yeah.
And I don't do those things. I will not go to them. If there's the kind of classic stand up in front of people and do an elevator pitch thing, I'm just like, I don't want to go to your event.
Yeah.
Because that's not what I'm about. And what I tend to do more of is if I try and go to things where I'm going to get myself easily into a one-on-one situation when people ask me what I do, before I start battering them with questions, I'll just do a very quick, you start it off with how this is the problem that most of my clients have. Well, what I do is how I solve problem, and then I ask them a question, and then I just keep battering with questions for the rest of the evening.
And it is the absolute best way to do that. Present the pain point, present your solution, ask them if they identify with it. If they do, great.
So you were you're still acting because you've got a project starting next month. But so when you were acting as a career, where did the stunt performing come in? Was that one day you had to just fill in for somebody, or was it something? Because you come across as a pretty fearless individual.
I was.
But I really, really want to know more about that.
Yeah, I was when I was younger. I definitely have, particularly having done safety for the last 10, 15 years, I have a considerably higher respect for my mortality than what I did in my early 20s. And the funny thing is stunts was actually the safest job that I ever had. Which is really, really ironic because,
Yeah, but imagine on a film set, everything has to be like planned to the nth degree.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just like, right, Tyler, okay, so what you're going to do is stand in for Daniel Craig or whatever, and you see that window, you're going to jump through that window, smash the glass. There's nothing on the other side, and you're somehow going to break your fall on that ledge below.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
No. First of all, there's always something on the other side. Second of all, particularly those glass pane stunts, those take a couple of weeks to set up because usually props and or the set design department in combination have to come up with that glass panel to break through, and they make a couple so you can do a couple of takes for safety, but oh man, they don't like it when you have to do more than 2 or 3 of those because they're expensive to make. So there's a lot of prep that goes through that. There's a lot of rehearsal that goes into that, and then there's a lot of false starts with it. Like you rehearse the thing right up until and then you don't actually do it, and then you get all the camera coverage that you need, and then okay, now we're going to do it. And to answer your initial question, I started initially doing stunts because my second agent that I had in Vancouver, his office was right next to a stunt training facility and international stunts. And the really cool Brit, Robin Webb, was the main trainer out of it. And I would go in and, you know, I'd have to pick up my check or something like that, or I'd be getting sides or I'd have to sign contracts or something like that with my agent. And you'd hear the guys next door and they'd be like smashing around and just like, you'd hear the thumping and then like, ugh, and then like fighting and like all of these things breaking. And you're like, what are they doing next door? And Cal would be like, it's the stunt school. And I'm like, so I'd wander over and I ended up talking with Robin and he needed help. He needed somebody to, like an assistant to answer phones, process payments, do bank deposits, stuff like that. Like he needed an admin. And I was bored and I wasn't working. And I was like, well, if I do this, can I train with you? He's like, yeah, I'll pay you. And then you can train for free with the guys. And so that's what I did for, about a year. I answered phones for international stunts, and I got to train with some of the most incredible stunt performers. One of the guys, Lars, who is still doing stunts to this day, was just a riot to work with. And another guy that was at that, I can't remember his name right now, and it's just an absolute shame. But he was in Deadpool. Like you see him at the beginning of Deadpool. Oh, wow. He's one of the guys in the original movie when they're in the SUV, like they're in a Suburban, and the bad guys have captured Deadpool, and then it flips over it's the slow-mo intro. Yeah.
And then it goes into the opening
into
credits.
Title credits. Yeah. He's the guy in the back. He's one of the guys in the back. And I'm like, right. Like I got to train with these really, really, really incredible professionals. And so I was just lucky that I was exposed to it. But because I'm small, right? Like I'm 5'7", 5'8"-ish. Probably closer to 5'7", but I'm going to put 5'8" on my resume. And 135 pounds, 140 now that COVID's happened. I'm tiny and I look good falling out of a window because I'm tiny. So
Tyler, you're compact.
I'm compact.
You're compact.
You're right. I don't mind being wee. But I am a very compact person. And
see, I have to do this all the time because I'll have clients who'll come in and, you know, they might be very large and overweight, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm overweight and I'm fat," and I'm just like, "No, you're powerfully built.
You're powerfully built."
And you see them; they suddenly grow like 3 inches, and they're suddenly like smiling, and it's like, "Yeah, I'm powerfully built. I like that."
Yeah.
And then when I have clients who are a little bit more demure in stature, I say to them, "No, You're compact.
You're compact.
And you're stealthy.
I will start. Stealthy. I like stealthy. I like svelte. I'm svelte.
Svelte too.
Yeah, very svelte. I have classic lines for tailoring. I have the really good V. Like I definitely need, and that the problem with living in North America is suits are not designed for me. I have to get a tailored suit. That's why I get mine typically from Asia, because I'm built like an Asian girl. But I don't mind that. I don't mind. And I love a classic Euro cut, like a really, like I like it to come in. Like I've got a good figure. I want to show it off. But because I am compact, when you push me out of a window, I look like I fall farther, especially if you have me doubling somebody who's like,
yeah, because it's all sizes relative, right?
Yeah. It's not how big you are; it's how you wave your arms falling out the window. So it's really it was a fun thing to do that I got to do a couple of high fall stunts, and that kind of became like a specialty for me. And then I got to do some ratchet pulls where they harness you up and like pull you back again, because I'm smaller, so they don't have to weight things as much to get momentum on me. And so it makes the stunt actually a little bit safer, because you're not having to put as much into getting me to move. And so I got to do some really cool, fun things like that. And I'm by no means was I a stuntman. I was simply an actor who did stunts on occasion. But again, because I got to work with some incredible guys like Robin Webb and Rick Moore and Lars and some of the other guys that they are true professionals, and really, really helped me shine by giving me an opportunity to do some of the things that they do so well.
Yeah. I apologize for the commotion in the background, by the way. I have both my dogs here, and the sun has set. There are a lot of foxes in this neighborhood who like to howl, and then it starts all the dogs in the neighborhood off, and then these two start.
Yeah.
I mean, what they would do if they were ever confronted by a fox, I have absolutely no idea. I mean, look at this. Can I introduce you to them?
Please.
This is not the first time this has happened on this podcast, really.
Yes. Hello. What is your name?
This is Emily.
Hi, Emily. You are
She's a
gorgeous.
cabochon. Part Cavalier, part Bichon Frise.
Yeah.
All bitch.
And beautiful. You rock it, queen. I love you.
This is the stunt dog. This is Bailey.
Hi, Bailey.
He's a working cocker. He was a rescue. So we found him dumped on a highway. And my wife spotted him from the car. He had a broken leg. He was really malnourished and so on. And so we picked him up. And long story short, we rehabbed him. And he's been with us for about 4 years now.
And you are loving every minute of it, aren't you, Bailey? Yeah. We've got
You did this. Every single time I have a Canadian on this podcast, you guys manage to worm your way in.
Well, because they know. They know.
One of your fellow countrymen from Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the podcast probably about 5 or 6 episodes ago, and yeah, these two took the whole episode over proactively. He actually, and I wanted him to talk about his business and so on, and he ended up just talking about them and how they give me energy, and he was absolutely right, but it just became the Emily and Bailey show instead of. I don't know what value my audience got out of that episode, to be quite honest. But
by
anyway,
any chance,
there we go. I apologize.
Was your guest Robert Riopel?
Yes.
I knew it. Bob and I are good friends.
Oh, cool. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. What a small world.
It is an incredibly small world, especially in speaking, especially in podcasts. And as soon as you said he was a dog lover, I knew it had to be Robert.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That is so crazy. My mind has just been blown. So where were we? Because I took you back to your stunt performing days. Stage fright. There we go. That must have helped you to overcome nerves and that sort of thing. When I was younger, my dad was the kind of person who would never hire someone to fix something. Mm-hmm. Like, he would just do it himself, whether it was replumbing the house, electrics, fixing tiles on a roof, whatever. He would just do it himself. And so I used to spend a lot of my childhood having to climb up ladders to hand him stuff and so on. And I had such bad vertigo, I could not even go 3 steps up a ladder. It was crazy before I'd start really shaking and just be like complete. And I think that translated into day-to-day life. I would get the same apprehension and the same fear before I was about to do something like speak to a group of people or have to present to someone. So then through my experience of acting, drama school, and so on, what I would frequently do, and it would sometimes get exhausting if I had a day where I was seeing person after person after person. You know what I'm about to say. I would actually just inhibit a different role every single time and just not be myself. And then all of a sudden the fear would just disappear. That's how I dealt with it. I mean, jump to today, because we've been refurbishing a house that's been a complete nightmare. So I've actually had to, I mean, there was one night I remember the roofers had not left the covers on properly. And at 1 a.m. in gale force winds and snow, I was scaling the scaffolding right to the very top to do the thing that they didn't do. And I remember being up there thinking, 2 sides to me. One was saying, you absolute complete idiot, what the hell are you doing? You could kill yourself. And the other half of me was saying, I'm so proud of you because you've just got up here with absolutely zero fear whatsoever. And in my own mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm a damn superhero. Anyway, sorry, back to my question.
So with stage fright, stunts actually, it's a totally different thing. And stage fright for me was something that I didn't understand until my tweens. Or actually early teens. The first time I experienced stage fright, I was 14 years old. And before that, it just wasn't a thing because I had been on stage at such a young age. I mean, everybody knows, like if any parents are listening to this and they've had that child that was 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, that there's no fear because you haven't experienced the world yet, and fear is a learned behavior. And so there's certain things where you just do it and you don't know that you're supposed to be or should be or whatever afraid of it. And stage was never a thing that I needed to be afraid of. In fact, it was a thing that was a place of comfort and a real joy to be around. So I didn't actually experience stage fright for the first time until I was 14, and it was delivering a Remembrance Day poem at an assembly at my school. And it was because they had brought in a whole bunch of veterans from the First and the Second World War. And this one guy, he looked like Clint Eastwood who'd had a bad day. Like he was grizzled and hard, and he just didn't look like he wanted to be there. And he had these steely blue eyes. He looked like a White Walker from Game of Thrones. Yeah. And he was terrifying to me and really decorated too. And he stared at me. And I remember in that moment feeling like, who am I to be presenting to this man? Like I'm talking about, Flanders Fields and where the poppies grow among the dead row on row. And you're like, but like, how I didn't fight in this war. This man did. Like, I don't know conflict. I live a cushy life. And I had all of this self-doubt and self-judgment wash over me. And, projecting this man's thoughts. And really, he was leaning on his cane, thinking to himself, get over with it, kid. I want to get back to the home so I can get my lunch, but I'm like, making all of these grand thoughts of how he's remembering the war. And the reality is he probably wasn't. So it was the first time that I really ever experienced stage fright from, doing a stunt. It depended on the stunt, but high falls is a totally different fear because you are pushing against every instinct in your body that's telling you are safe. Why are you jumping? Like it's very similar to if you do like a bungee jump, right?
Yeah.
Everything in you knows that you're on an engineered system that is designed to make sure that your body doesn't go splat. But your mammalian brain doesn't know that. And subconscious is going to battle the conscious every time. Subconscious is usually going to win every time. And it's mastering that conflict that really was difficult. So for me, like I didn't really, I very seldomly have stage fright. It's not that I don't have it. It's just that it's seldom. But I have a fear every time I do a high fall. It's terrifying every time. And even like I remember one of the first ones that I did was just a 2-story jump into cardboard boxes, which is actually really a lot more safe and more comfortable than what it sounds like. It
didn't look like it in that episode of the US Office. I don't know if you've seen that show.
Yes.
But the episode where Andy, Michael, and Dwight are doing parkour.
Yeah.
Because it's like the new rage.
Yeah.
And that's the cold open, and basically they end up going through the office, kind of parkour, and then they end up in the garage or the car park at the back, and then they go to parkour into the boxes, and then I think it's Andy that takes the jump, and there's basically nothing supporting the boxes underneath. I mean, that stunt performer, I don't know if he got hurt or what, but it looked painful.
So it depends on how you hit them. If you hit them properly,
I guess so.
It's actually really quite cushioning, and they collapse really quick, and you're using specially designed boxes, but it's actually a really easy thing to do. But that was only 2 stories in the air, so 18, 20 feet kind of deal. We're talking.
I've jumped 2 stories before. I ran away from home once when I was 15, so I climbed out my bedroom window and then, was trying to lower myself down, and it was higher up than I thought it was.
Yeah.
But then I couldn't pull myself back up. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I got nothing for it. I need to jump. But then I kind of hung there for about 10 minutes, kind of calculating the angle.
Yeah.
And there was a fence on the other side of the alleyway from my bedroom window. So I was kind of like, well, if I can kind of just push myself away with enough force that I kind of hit kind of the top third of the fence, that'll kind of help soften things so that I can then kind of bounce onto the ground.
Yeah.
And then hopefully I shouldn't break anything. And then I was like, okay, and when I do that, I need this part of my body to hit that. And then, so this is what I'm doing, right? I'm setting up the stunt.
Yes, but that's exactly.
I can't believe I actually did.
It's all the planning, right? And you're doing a 5 or 6 meter fall, and
I made it I made it uninjured, by the way.
Congratulations!
No bruises or anything.
Soft ground and a good tuck and roll, and
it was concrete.
Oh, guy, that just not fun there. But I really enjoyed it because it was that mind over matter, like having to get truly zen. Like part of what you do when you're standing up there is you start to breathe, you start to really control your breath, control your thoughts, understand. Because the other thing is too, once they call rolling on the cameras, it's expensive. When I was doing stunts, they were still filming with film. Like it wasn't now where you have more advent and use of digital cameras, and the digital film is significantly cheaper recording on digital media than it is on film media.
35 mil.
But when you're running through 35 mil, like you're talking thousands of dollars every second that film is going through, just to have people there. So you can't stutter, right? Like, they're going to put in a new mag so that they have a full reel to go through, but you still, when they call action, you need to be able to count down 3, 2, 1 and jump, because otherwise there isn't. So that's why you want to make sure that everything is ready beforehand. Like you practice, you rehearse, like a high fall. If I was to get contracted to do a high fall, and the stunt coordinator phones me and says, Tyler, we've got this thing that we want you to do. He's phoning me usually 2 to 3 months in advance. Like, they probably haven't even cast the main cast yet, but the stunt guys know what stunts are coming so they can start rehearsing them. Or you're rehearsing in prep for the potential to have a high fall, which is what I used to do. Like, I'd go with the guys to the gym and we'd jump on trampolines and into foam pits and, just practice the tuck and roll and the turn and flipping over, and practice getting comfortable, moving your arms like really showy. because when your body falls, it naturally wants to freeze and it wants to get small, and that looks bad on film. You want to get like super wide, and it's counterintuitive to what you want to do, and you want to make it big and flary and showy. But then you need to,
because you want to make your body smaller to protect yourself as much as possible. Yeah, not kind of open yourself up.
Yeah. So it's being showy and then being able to tuck at the end, and there's a lot that goes into to making that happen. So, we'd rehearse for literally months, and nonstop. Like I said, those guys were in the gym. They were at the school. They didn't have a stunt specifically that they were training for. They were just training. It's kind of like any martial art, where you're going. Hopefully you never have to get into a fight and use the martial art, but you need to train every day so that if you ever need to use it, it's just instinctual.
You know how to block, you know how to shift your weight, you know how to transfer energy, you know how to attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, all of this experience and all of these kind of skills you learn to be able to deal with and do those things have obviously translated through your life into, even to what you do now, because a lot of what you were talking about there in terms of, the preparation, the rehearsal, and so on, controlling your breathing. Those are all things that I personally do on a daily basis. That's my kind of first thing in the morning routine and the night before, because I'm literally running through the following day, and I am playing out in my head everything that is going to happen in order to mentally prepare myself for what I would presume is going to come, but also to try and prepare for anything that's unexpected as well.
Yeah.
So I can kind of deal with it and not be put on the back foot too much.
Yeah, no, and it's amazing how it came full circle, and in all of my training now, that's, usually most people are preparing for public speaking wrong. They think they need to memorize a speech or a script, and
script.
And it's counterintuitive. Really, what you need to know is your own body. Nobody is an authority of your own story better than you. So if you're speaking from the heart, you're going to do it the best. and scripts sound scripted, right? Like people know the difference between a natural flowing conversation and something that's scripted. There's a falsehood that comes with it. And we have an innate BS meter for it. So everything, when I look back on my life, it's a very, very linear path. But looking from the beginning going forward, it seems very circuitous and very winding. But I can see where every mile marker needed to be hit in order to get to where I am today.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously my listeners who are in North America and Canada, and there are some of them, obviously they're able to book coaching with you live when you're doing events and so on. Are you doing things online still do you have international clients outside of your continent?
I'm actually working with an absolutely wonderful woman down in New Zealand, and I have another client that is based out of Thailand. I have another one in Dubai. So I work virtually with a lot of people on the private one-on-one coaching, and then I continue to do that. It's like I said, it's easier when I can get to them and work live. Yeah. But for the live seminar trainings, I'm excited that those are starting to start up again.
Yeah. Awesome. I'll make sure that I have all your links in the show notes for everybody to be able to find you. And what I would also like to do is just take some of what we've talked about and actually just create some blog articles and so on to send out, because it's my natural kind of connector in me. It's I know that there's so much value for particularly a few of my clients that are just about to go into new kind of roles and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I just want people to be able to find you a little bit more easily as well.
I'll tell you what, Roberta, will make it real easy for them. If your listeners are enjoying listening to Tailoring Talk, because, let's face it, that's the greatest title ever. I would encourage them to give you a 5-star review. And if they're willing to give you a 5-star review and maybe type out an endorsement of one of the episodes that they liked, whether it was mine or Robert Riopel's or any of the other guests that you've had on, and just say, what they liked about it, what they enjoyed about it, and give you a 5-star review. If they're willing to do that, then they can hop over to my page, which is SeanTylerFoley.com. Sean spelled the proper Irish way, SeanTylerFoley.com. And if they go to that page, we've got a link to my Endless Stages Facebook group. It's free for anybody to join. And so if they think they might want to learn a little bit more, see what my style is like, it's a really quick, easy, accessible, free way to go. And we do a live training every Tuesday that gets posted as a replay. So we're happy to have them if they're willing to give you a 5-star review, my friend.
Awesome. That's brilliant. And see, that connects with what you were saying before. See, Tyler's just told you guys and girls where he's going to be. So feel free to hop on over if you're interested.
That's right.
God, we're so clever. I'm conscious of time I've taken more time than you had originally scheduled for me, and I'm so grateful. I could talk to you forever. This has just been absolutely amazing. Have you had fun?
Oh, absolutely. The time flew, so we'll have to plan for episode number 2 in the future. Definitely.
And hopefully, now that things are starting to open back up, then I can put my travel plans in place, because Canada is definitely somewhere Carolina and I want to visit, because we've never been before. We've been to America quite a few times, but Canada is somewhere that we've always wanted to visit.
Well, you know that you have 2 friends who are eager to show you both around if you can make it to the Calgary International Airport. And I know for a fact that British Airways has stopped its direct flights into Calgary, but only because Air Canada and WestJet have both increased their flights from both Heathrow and Gatwick. So come on in.
Oh, cool.
It's a direct flight. There's some beautifully configured planes. You can enjoy some great service coming on through. And when you do get here, both Robert and I would be thrilled to take you into Banff, take you up to Lake Louise, tour you around, maybe go to the Badlands. Well, I'll show you a good time. Reach out.
Yeah. My Canadian clients, whenever they go back home to visit family, they always smuggle back maple syrup for me.
Yep.
Which is hilarious, because they know I have a sweet tooth. Have you heard my Winnie the Pooh story?
No.
I'll tell you. Do you want to hear it before we go?
Please do tell.
Okay, so a lot of people know this story now, and I'm going to bore the listeners because they've heard it. Actually, you haven't heard it since the first episode, so, I'll refresh your memories. So basically, when my wife and I first got together and we were boyfriend and girlfriend, we first moved in together. So there was one time she was going to go to the gym, and I didn't want to go, so I stayed home. But I'd only just moved in with her. And so I had this habit of beelining for the kitchen in anyone's house that I was in, actually, and just looking through the cupboards to see what I could find. And honey is like my weak spot. So she had a jar of runny honey, and she had a jar of set honey in her cupboard. And I'd never seen set honey before. It just wasn't something that we had in our household when I was growing up. So I took some of the set honey, dipped my finger in, and she's actually sitting next to me right now. I can't see her face because she's got a 20. Oh, no, there we go. Yeah, it's not good. Eyebrows just gone up. So I took a kind of scoop of the set honey and stuck it in my mouth. And, everyone knows how set honey reacts, right? I didn't. But then what I immediately did is I took the runny honey and then I poured that down my throat as well. And so what happened is the set honey kind of got stuck in my throat. The runny honey followed up behind it. And then the whole thing just crystallized in my throat all of a sudden, and it all closed up. And so I'm choking to death. So I'm writhing around on the floor. Now, thank God she had forgotten her gym pass. So 5 minutes of me writhing around, going blue in the face, and then she came back into the apartment, and she's just like, hey, I forgot my gym pass, and then she found me on the floor and had to basically save my life. But since then, she calls me the Big Bear because Winnie the Pooh. So anyway, so my clients that know this story, especially the Canadians, whenever they go back home, they will smuggle. We can get Canadian maple syrup here, right? I mean, I can just go pick it up at the supermarket anytime I want. But they just take great delight in the joy on my face when I see them after they come back from Canada and they have a little bottle of Canadian maple syrup and it just brings so much joy to me.
The next time I'm coming to London, I'm not going to bring you the little touristy jar.
Do I sound like a complete freak?
No. You sound like a man who has fine taste. So I'm not going to bring you the little touristy maple leaf jar. I'm going to bring you the proper 2-gallon tin from Quebec proper, and I'll hook you up.
Oh, wow. Yeah, thank you so much. I look forward to that.
Roberto, it was an absolute pleasure, and we really will have to do it again.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do that. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And we will speak soon. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Thank you once again to the amazing Tyler Foley for joining me. And thank you for joining us on this episode. As I said at the top of the show, please remember to subscribe and review. You can also click the share button in your player to send the show on to people you know too. The Tailoring Talk Bondathon is rumbling along, so we have an exciting review episode coming up, as well as more amazing guests and their stories. Make sure you don't miss a thing by hitting that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.